All right, guys, welcome back to Better Be Different. Your host, Derwin, and my co host, John Chow.
How's it going, guys? Welcome back.
Welcome back. All right, we're excited now. It's been a little bit since we recorded the last episode, and now we're back and better than ever, hopefully.
We have like 3 cameras now, huh?
3 cameras. That's right. That's a good upgrade. So now you guys can really see our facial expressions, which is good. I think that's a big part of being entertaining, maybe.
Yeah, and just kind of making improvements along the way.
Yeah,
And here we are.
here we are. Um, what were you telling me the other day? Um,
I think everyone's got problems.
yeah.
And sometimes like there's this Chinese saying.
Okay.
It goes something like 家家都有一本難練的經.
Damn, you speak good Chinese.
I'm fluent, man. Come on.
What does that mean?
I think it means like literally every family has a hard to read portion of their family book or history, something along those lines.
All right.
Yeah.
Not verbatim. Okay. So
Not verbatim, but something like that.
something like that.
The notion
Okay.
is that everyone's got problems. Sometimes what you see of me, what I see of you, what we see of other people, outside, it appears like things are okay, things are going good,
Right.
things are going well.
Right.
But in actuality, that's not the case. I mean, I feel like if we talk about like social media,
Yeah. I was just gonna say that.
what people post.
Yeah, everybody's posting like nowadays, like perfect photos. Like they've taken like 1,000 photos and they pick one good one.
Right.
Right. The
And that's filtered
filtered oftentimes, many filters.
Yeah.
That's what one girl told me one time. She said she took 500 something photos and
Right.
picked one,
That's
only
tough.
one. You know what I mean? That's how crazy it is. It's like this perfect image. You have to have this perfect image on social media.
But here's the thing,
Right?
though, right? I hear you, but I think that's like not the most efficient way of using your time. Sometimes I think people, if they go on vacation, this and that,
Yeah.
they should really treasure the time there, cherish the time, rather
Yeah.
than, hey, I need to capture the best image so I can post to
Exactly.
get as many likes as I can.
Because think about 500 photos. How much time are you standing there trying to look pretty? You're not even like enjoying the atmosphere and the
Right.
environment. You're
Right.
not like
Right.
in the moment.
Right. So I think that's a travesty. I think like people should perhaps reconsider,
Right.
why they go on summer vacation here and that, just to take in
Yeah, I agree.
things.
I agree. I mean, and a lot of these people that have supposedly perfect images, like they have a good social life, they look pretty, they showboat, they show their money, they show whatever, you know what I mean? And behind that, it's nothing like that. You know what I mean? And I know these people. I know them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to name any names, but
Right.
I know a girl who's got like lots of followers. I'm talking about maybe 100,000,
Okay.
something like that,
Okay,
which
wow.
is sizable.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, it's not like in the millions, like some big time. But she just started. She
Yeah.
just started not too long ago, and she's got like 100,000.
Yeah.
Obviously, she's pretty, and sex sells, right? Like I
Right.
say, she looks pretty. A lot of followers, and it's ramping up really quickly. And some of her stories that she put
Yeah.
are not even recent stories, like on Instagram. What else? Shows her, doing some special jobs, being in videos and such.
Yeah.
She's showing like all these like brand name bags, like Vuitton,
Yeah.
Prada, whatever. They show all that stuff, and then you get to know them, and then you find out that they're barely making their rents. Right? They can barely pay their rents, which is like crazy. That's just crazy. Like people have this image of them like, oh, they're balling out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just getting flown everywhere. Yeah, maybe that's some of it. Some of
Yeah.
it could be true. But the back end, I mean, she told me that I can't do this this week because work has been slow and rent's coming up.
No.
So I mean, that's a big discrepancy. You know what I mean? From looking like a super big time baller to someone that's barely getting by, living paycheck to paycheck.
I
You know what I mean?
I hear you, because there's someone that I met recently as well,
Yeah.
and she's also very involved in social media,
Okay.
right? And she tells me that is actually part of her job in a way to post so frequently. but there's a pressure to have to post things that are interesting, to be in different places, different images, different poses and all that,
Right.
But she said I'd rather not, but because of, I guess, maybe her friends or her family
Hmm.
wants it a certain way, and that's pressure from family as well, and
Really?
so it's like,
Is that her full time thing, like to be a socialite, or is that just her side time, like a part time gig or something?
well, she also does modeling and stuff like
Okay.
that as well, so I guess it's all part of it. It's part of her job, I guess.
Okay.
That's tough,
I guess
really tough.
because you can't really be yourself,
Yeah,
right?
so that's going back
Like,
to, like, in images, it's like these people appear all happy,
right.
smiling, living the good life, but in actuality, that may not be the case in real life.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So
Yep.
everyone's got problems.
Everyone's got problems. Yeah, I think so. Like even people like that seem to have it all. They may not have, like, let's say they have all the material stuff. They live in a big house or whatever. They might not have the health.
Hmm.
Health is very important.
Health as
Health
well.
is the most important. And I recently heard this, which just makes a lot of sense. Is like when you have health,
Hmm.
you think you need this, you need that, or you, like, for instance, you need a new car, you need a new person in your life, you need a
Right.
bigger home, you need a vacation, you need many things to feel content when
Hmm.
you have the health because you're not thinking about it. But on the flip side, if you don't have health, right? Think about it. If you're sick and ill and you're gonna die, right? What do you want? What's the only thing you want? Is health.
Right.
And you don't give a crap about all the other stuff. So that kind of just like really hit home for
Well,
me. You know what I mean?
well, honestly, if you don't have health, you can't even enjoy what wealth you have. You have.
Right.
You know, they say, like, a lot of things are material, which I believe that they are. I think money is important,
Yeah.
but it's a
It's
necessity.
a necessity.
But it doesn't mean like that's what life is all about.
Yep.
People work. It should
Yep.
be like, when you work to live.
Right.
You don't live to work.
Right. That's when I've
Right.
heard that one before.
So you have to find that balance, right? Because people that necessarily have a lot of money,
Yeah.
and that doesn't necessarily translate to having happiness.
Yeah.
There are things that money cannot buy.
Lots of
Money
things.
cannot buy happiness. Money cannot buy, let's say, loyalty.
Yeah.
From friends, from family. Money cannot buy love. Money cannot buy a lot of things. That's why people that have money,
Mm-hmm.
just because they have it, is also important how they show it. Some people may want to, like, are more into showboating, whereas others are more low key.
Right.
I'm not here to judge, like, which is better.
Right.
But I think, like, just because you have money, kind of way, you have to be mindful of how you want to portray yourself.
Right. Yeah. And then there's like the study. I think the study was done in, I think it was the US. But anyways, they say to get to a certain level, to be kind of like happy, like content, is you need to make $75,000, right, a year, which is nothing in San Francisco.
Are you sure that applies to the Bay Area?
Probably not the Bay Area is what I'm
Okay,
thinking.
okay.
Okay, but 75,000, like maybe in the Midwest, whatever, that
Right.
could be enough,
Okay.
right? But certainly in the Bay Area, California, New York, coastal states, that's not going to be enough,
Right.
right? But they say you start to really feel wealthy when you're making 100 plus 100,000, 125,000. I think that's in line. I think that feels, again, not just Bay Area. It doesn't really apply too much Bay Area. You have to be making like 200,000 a year to rent like a decent apartment in San Francisco, right? But back to the study. If you're making 100-something thousand, then you have a pretty decent life. Like you have your shelter covered, your food covered,
Okay.
your clothing, the necessities, right?
Yeah.
And then beyond that, if you're making like incremental, like let's say $50,000 more per year, and that's almost like that's almost 50%, right? Maybe 40% increase. So let's say you make 120, and then you get a promotion, whatever, you make $50,000 more.
Okay.
So you're almost like 40%, 40%
right.
increase. But that does not translate into 40% more happiness, right?
Yeah.
So
agree.
that's very true. And if you make like $500,000, let's say 3 times as much as 120,000, right? Or 4 times, that does not translate into 4 times as much happiness.
Well,
which is crazy.
Well,
right?
Here's the thing, though, right?
Yeah.
Think about, let's say, individuals that live in like really, really deep in, like, let's say, someplace that's like very out there.
Yeah.
That's not at all, whether it's urban, suburban, just like really deep into the woods,
Right.
as an extreme
Like
example.
a Amazonian or something.
Sure, or whatever, right?
All right.
For them, life is much more simple, right? Life is not about technology. Life is not about like who has more. So long as you have enough food on the table,
Yep.
maybe they have to go hunting. We're
Right.
talking about, right? So what they have perhaps
Yeah.
is happiness that is not based on money, but based on just quality time with one another,
Yeah.
right? Who is to say that having more money means that you're happier, right? I think like that's what I'm saying. Money cannot be measured,
Mhm.
but happiness cannot be measured by money,
Yeah.
because I think like there are things once again that money cannot buy.
Yeah.
You
I agree
know,
with 100%.
it's like think about like okay, so something that I think not that many people know about me is
Yeah.
that so my major in college was social welfare, right?
Okay.
And I emphasized in two areas.
I didn't even know that actually. So
Oh, here you go, right?
Mhm.
So I emphasize in two areas: homelessness and gerontology.
Okay.
Gerontology is a study of like older people, and so I remember when I was taking those courses, and I guess also based on my own background, being
Mhm.
that I grew up without a father, I've always felt that there's a lot one can learn from
Mhm.
people that have experienced life more, older people,
Sure. Of
right?
course.
I grew up without a father figure, and so I've always been very inquisitive,
Mhm.
right? And so I've asked older people in the past things like, for example, hey, in life, do you have any regrets?
Regrets.
Okay, if you
Right.
can go back,
Right.
right, what are things that you would have done differently?
Yeah.
And I tell you,
Is it the same answer for like most of these people?
yeah, I mean, they would not say that, hey, you know what, I think I spent too much time with my family and friends.
Mhm.
On
Never.
converse,
They never say
it's not
something
about
like
that,
that. Yeah.
right?
I never heard
It's
that
like, hey,
actually.
yeah, it's like, hey,
That's a good
I
point.
wish I would have spent more time with
Right.
my family and with my friends.
Right.
That's money. That's something money
That's the
cannot
biggest
buy,
one, right?
right?
That's the biggest one.
So that's why I think that how we spend our time.
Mhm.
Life is about choices.
Yeah.
How we choose to spend our time, how we choose to who we choose to interact with,
Mhm.
right? And then I think there's a saying that goes like, okay, you are perhaps the five people that you spend the most time with. You're kind of the average of those five.
Yep. Income wise or
I think maybe income wise,
income wise, I've definitely heard that before.
but I think that also applies to like one's personality,
Okay.
values, morals, and all that as well. Because your
Certainly.
circle
Yeah.
of influence is kind of who you are.
Right.
There's that phrase like you are what you eat in a way, but in this
Sure.
case, you are who you are with. Who
And
you
you're
spend time with.
probably drawn to those people that are more similar to you anyway, right?
Well, yeah, and then
Mhm.
that being the case, those top five, if you will,
Right.
usually if you're drawn to them, and there's the commonality amongst all five of them,
Mhm.
usually among those five, you can be sure that when they meet each other or when they interact with one another, that things should be fine as well. Because you guys are all kind of common in certain ways, right?
Mhm.
Similarities, at least in certain ways. So,
Right. Well, that makes sense.
you know,
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Um, yeah, did I tell you I have a friend? I think I told you. I'm not gonna name names, but he's fairly well off, right? I'm talking about hundreds of millions.
okay,
Okay,
that's
I
fairly well off,
fairly well off. I don't.
to say the least.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm not sure if he's a billionaire. His
okay,
dad might be, but he's who knows. But they're up there, and he actually said he doesn't actually want to get more rich,
mm,
believe it or not.
mm.
Maybe not those are not the exact words, but that was the message. He said that
How much is
because
enough, right?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it just depends on the person, right? But basically, he says like, think about it. If you are so rich and you have so much recognition, right, and you're basically under a microscope on a spotlight all
Uh,
day long, right? If you think of like once you become a celebrity, like an A-list celebrity, you can't do anything on the download, right? Like everywhere, you can't just go walk out,
yeah,
go to Target. I mean, you can, but you're gonna get mugged, not mugged, but mobbed by people, right? You don't have that personal life
right,
anymore, right? Anywhere you go, you might need a security with you, or kind of you can't just be yourself. You can't, just go out wearing your pajamas, whatever, right?
right.
You have to constantly be aware of who's looking at you and what kind of message you're giving off.
Mm-hmm.
So, and that's what he meant. He's like, I don't want to get to a point where like Mark Cuban, for instance, whatever he does, everyone's kind of looking at him. You know what I mean? So I think
Hmm.
that makes sense. So I think it's a balance, like many things in life.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously it's good to have more than enough money,
Right.
but once you do realize you have more than enough, I think you don't necessarily need to be on that stratospheric level where everyone knows exactly what you're doing.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? You just don't. Sometimes it's cool to be unnoticed, right?
Well,
Sometimes you can be flying under the radar when
low
people
key and
low
all that,
key.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's kind of really resonated with me.
You
You
know,
know what I mean?
that's very interesting because I think people inherently,
Yeah,
at least some people, always want more,
yeah.
right? You know, it's like never enough.
Never enough.
What is enough?
And
But your
those are the
friend, yeah,
yeah, and those are the people that are not happy. That I feel like they always want more, right? Because once they get to a certain level, they want to compare themselves to someone that's a bit
the
higher, and
Joneses, right, and all that.
yeah, so it's a never-ending vicious cycle, right? So that like my friend, but he realized that, and his dad also realizes that. You know what I mean? Like they've got more than enough, way more than enough. At the same time, they're not being scrutinized or just constantly looked at. Hey, what's this guy
Yeah.
doing, right? But he does know people that are on that level that have to have that stuff, because they're just so well known, right? So yeah, so
I think I think that being the case, we should just be grateful,
yeah,
whatever situation that we're in right now,
yeah.
not to necessarily be complacent. You know, perhaps strive for more,
Strive for more is good. I think we should always strive for more, better,
but
right?
yeah, but that's not to say that we should be down and to necessarily compare to other people.
Yeah,
I think that, I mean, for
that's
myself,
huge.
for myself, when I hear like someone's doing well,
Yeah,
I'm happy for them.
yeah.
And
That's key
I
too.
think being happy for other people as opposed to comparing other
Yeah,
people, I think that kind of gives me peace.
yeah. I think so too. And it's not a way to say you're, just not motivated, or you're
Yeah.
not ambitious, or I think it's just because some people will see that as, okay, I'm just not gonna work as hard
Right.
because I don't want to compare myself with other people, right? I think that's not the right way to look at it either. I think you should get to a certain point where you're truly, able to be the person you want to be and have the stuff that you want. You know what I mean? The
Hmm.
necessities, I think. You know what I mean? Not everyone needs a private jet, right?
And not only
So,
is a private jet, but I think if we're talking about wanting to improve,
yep.
wanting to make changes, wanting to evolve. I've been listening and reading to different things, and something that I want to share with everyone as well,
Yeah.
which is this. So think about it this way: the mentality is that I hope things will happen a
All right.
certain way. We may want to change that to, instead of saying I hope,
Mm-hmm.
to I will.
Yep.
And
Or don't do I try. Don't say I
no,
try.
no, no, don't say I try. Say
I
I will,
will.
right?
Right.
So here's the thing. Something to think about. Okay,
Yeah.
maybe we should try something new
Something new.
every day, whether big or small, right?
Okay.
And when trying something new, perhaps try it one time. Okay, when you try it one time, the reason why to try it one time,
Yep.
because by doing that, then you are, if there's something that you are do not know about, perhaps you're fearful for not
Mm-hmm.
knowing what the results would be.
Right.
You try it one time to face your fear. So therefore, after trying it once,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, hey, I face my fear. I know what it is now.
Right.
And then guess what?
Being stronger.
You try a second time.
Okay.
Why? You try a second time is like,
Mhm.
now you kind of learn more about it,
Mhm.
internalize that, and kind of think about, hey, this is, now I know more about this thing that I didn't know before. That's the
Mhm.
second time you try. And guess what? After that, you try a third
Third
time.
time.
Why?
Mm-hmm.
The third time you try it is when you figure out whether you like it or not.
So it takes 3 times to figure out whether or not you like it.
Yeah.
To really know.
Face your fears. You try it.
Well, that's
You
interesting.
try it second time
That's interesting.
to learn about it.
Right.
You try a third time to really say, hey, now that I've tried 3 times,
Yeah.
maybe it's something that I like, that I want to continue.
Mm-hmm.
Or you know what, I've had enough. At least I know what it is. It's not for me. Moving on. In either case, now it's something new that you could say that you have tried.
I think it makes sense. That's more than I thought. Actually, I've always been open to like trying things at least once.
Yeah.
Because without trying, you're never gonna know. You just don't know. It could be
Right.
better. It could be worse. Who knows? But I mean, what you said kind of makes sense. You need more trials, I guess.
Yeah. So
To,
this way, it gives you more time to truly assess whether or not it's for you or
the
not.
thing is, people don't do that, right?
Well,
Most people don't even do that. They only try it once sometimes.
but
So,
here's the thing,
right.
right? We're talking about like a podcast,
Yeah.
better be different,
Right.
right? How are we gonna be different?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, life. We're all busy being busy. So how can we be different? Because we make efforts to be different
Right.
by trying different things,
Right.
by doing different things, by thinking differently.
Yep.
I mean, so this podcast, I think about, okay, so my profession as a lawyer, okay,
Mhm.
that's on a professional level, obviously. This is more on a personal
Yep.
level, right? So, the way that I conduct myself in my practice, I mean, there's some overlap to
Right.
how I am personally.
Right.
I've mentioned like I have let's say a little background in martial arts, right? Here's my
Oh yeah.
you know what I'm saying? And here's my shirt, right? So
Who's that?
who's this? Hey, this is Bruce Lee, right?
Bruce Lee.
Who doesn't know Bruce Lee, right? And he only lived till he was 33 years old.
That's yeah.
And
Yeah. I think
and
it was 33.
yeah, and he's passed away for like, I think he passed away in 73. So like anyway, 40 something years ago. And to this
More than 40 something, right? Or 40 something?
Yeah.
Okay, 40 something.
46 years. Anyway, so
something like that.
to this day,
Yeah.
I mean, who doesn't know Bruce Lee, right?
Yep.
And I mean, if you look up this form of martial arts called Jeet Kune Do, right? And so Jeet Kune Do is something that I'll call him Grandmaster Lee because I practice Jeet Kune Do.
Yes.
That Grandmaster Lee founded in 1967.
Okay.
Here's my watch, by the way.
Jeet Kune Do. Yes.
So I'm very proud of Jeet Kune Do. You see it?
Yeah. Oh, that's the color, I guess, huh? The yellow and red. It's like everywhere. Did you know that? I just noticed that.
Yeah, it's cool, right? So
yellow and red is the theme color for Jeet Kune Do, I guess.
So I got this book when I went to Seattle to visit his gravesite, right? And his tombstone, he says, founder of Jeet Kune Do, right? And I have a picture of me paying my respects. And then I was looking at the photo, right? And then it's like shot from my left side. So when I was looking at it, so you can see the scar, which I'll talk about in a little bit.
Oh yeah,
but
that's a freaking massive scar, man.
Yeah. So
every time I look at it, it gets bigger, man. They get bigger
on its own, right? But
jeez.
But here's the thing, right? So
yeah.
So back to Grandmaster Lee. So he and I were actually born in the same hospital in San Francisco, Chinatown, Chinese hospital. And although there was no overlap because he passed away before I was born there,
right?
But nonetheless, there's something pretty cool about us, right? We have the connection, right? And so he is known to be in obviously one of the greatest martial arts of all time,
right?
But he's also known to be a very good philosopher.
Yeah, I think that was his major, right?
That was his major
at University
UW, right?
UW, Washington. Yeah.
And here's the thing. There's something that I share with some of my basketball players because I'm a basketball coach, right? And so even at the last practice last Sunday, I told my players who are in the third grade, I told them this. I said,
you don't coach an NBA? What's up with that?
In due time. Working my way up there, bro.
Yeah.
So I told them, I said, hey guys, why do we practice? Right? We practice because we want to improve, right? We want to put ourselves in a position to win. And during practice, we also have scrimmaging, right? Because we want to put ourselves in a more real type of game setting. Okay. So I said, okay, so here's a quote. The quote goes like this: I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times.
Yep.
Right. So
I've heard that one.
Right.
I've heard that one. Makes sense.
It makes sense, right? Because, it only takes several moves, frankly, to end a fight, right? If you're good at it, if you know whether it's a kick or a punch or something else, that's all you need.
The right areas.
Right areas as well, right? And here's the thing, back to Grandmaster Lee. So here's something else that a lot of people may not know about him, is that, first of all, he was very nearsighted. So that's why his initial training
Hmm.
was in Wing Chun, because Wing Chun is like close range,
Hmm. Yes, close
right? You
range.
talk about like the
If you're like locked
Wind
up,
Dummy and all that, Ip Man and all
if you're
that.
locked up in an elevator, that would be
Yeah,
perfect.
there you go, right?
That'd be
Close range.
perfect.
So that's one thing.
Yeah.
Another thing is that his left leg
Hmm.
was actually about 1 inch shorter than his right leg.
Wow.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that. 1 inch is I mean, my left leg is a quarter inch longer than my right because I have a broken leg. I
Huh.
broke my right leg my when I
Oh,
was a
I
kid.
didn't know.
Yeah, so
Interesting.
it I had a cast for 9 months, but and it's about a quarter to a half inch shorter.
Okay.
And I don't think I limp at all. People don't really see it, but people might think it's a natural swag. But
Oh,
maybe
that
it's because of
explains it.
that.
Oh,
All
there you
right, all
go.
right. But anyway, I never knew that about Bruce Lee. This 1 inch is very sizable.
It's sizable. So because of that,
Yeah,
his fighting stance is that he has his right leg forward.
he does.
Right leg forward because it's longer, and because of the difference,
Hmm.
it kind of gives like a spring that enables him to kind of go forward. And so because Jeet Kune Do, it's kind of like mixed martial arts in that it involves different disciplines, right? And
Yep.
it involves, for example, besides Wing Chun,
Mhm.
it involves fencing where you kind of have that forward motion. It involves like boxing,
Yep.
you know, yeah, fencing, and actually there's a whole list here. I mean, besides that,
Well, he's also called the grandfather of MMA.
yeah,
Also,
exactly. I mean,
he's one of the first ones to introduce it.
he is recognized as being like, because yeah, it involves like karate as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
and a bunch of others,
all that stuff,
kung
which
fu and
is
all that.
super fascinating because like people might think, okay, what's a big deal? But that's like 40 years ago. And he was doing that. Like people look at Bruce Lee that never really researched him, think that he's like, he's like a scrawny dude. I mean, yeah, he's ripped as hell, but it's probably 140 pounds. Not no big deal, But the thing is, people don't know like 40 years ago, no one even talked about this. It's either you're a boxer or
Yeah,
you're a karate guy or you're
right,
a jiu-jitsu guy, whatever, right?
right.
So that's something that was so ahead of his time. Like, even though like when he passed away, I guess like martial arts, theory and all stuff kind of just went stagnant until UFC came along, which
Yeah,
was like 20 years after his
yeah,
death, right? And then things start to like kind of connect again. And then the martial artists, things like the mixed martial arts start to the different disciplines start to come together,
right.
and then slowly as it got evolved and then people start to recognize and attribute that to Bruce Lee,
Yeah,
because he was the original guy that really put that all
yeah,
together,
yeah.
which is like super, like he's so ahead of his time.
Exactly.
He just
It's
doesn't, it's
amazing.
amazing. Like people now are talking about it in the last 10 years. UFC is big, but Bruce Lee is just a pretty amazing dude. You know what I mean? Like
The one and only.
the one and only. It's just like the stuff that he was doing back then. It's just unheard of. Like, how we drink protein and powder and all that stuff? Like we throw it into a blender and it's all like, there's a powder is ready for you.
Yep.
None of that existed back then. So what he did was, he started throwing like egg whites and yolk and blended
Amazing.
everything up and they
Really
put
amazing.
in some vitamins in there.
Yeah.
Like he just blended everything all together, all the good stuff, the nutrients that he thought was necessary to build muscle and all that stuff.
There you go.
He did all that.
Yeah.
And that's basically what protein powder is today. That's the crazy thing, right? He was doing that stuff way back when no one like knew what was going on. You know what I mean?
No, it's really amazing. So that's amazing. And another philosophy that, as it applies to fighting, with respect to at least Jeet Kune Do, is this.
Mm.
So for me, I was born left-handed, but I was forced to go right because my parents thought that being right-handed would be easier. So I'm somewhat ambidextrous. However, when it comes to fighting, I noticed that, for example, my right kick
Uh-huh.
as well as my right punch is stronger. It's more solid, right? And so before I was wondering, if my right is more solid, should I work on my left to make it more balanced,
Sure.
right? And so I thought about doing that for a while to kind of, there's more room for me to grow there, to improve there, right?
Mm.
But then, like my sifu said, hey, you know what? If your right's better, you start with your right because it's not like you want the fight to last a long time, anyways.
Right.
So go with what you have that's stronger, your strong weapon. And so if I have my right stance,
So lead with your right.
lead my right. So if I had to go with my left, anyways, I have more time to kind of get, I guess more power or inertia or whatever coming from my left. So yeah, I lead with my right. And so I think it's kind of interesting how, like, when it comes to fighting, which obviously I'm not suggesting that people fight. I think
Unless they
fighting
want to defend themselves.
is only to defend. Yeah, it's only a defensive measure because Jeet Kune Do literally means the art of the intercepting fist, right? So you intercept the other person's fist and you anticipate and you use that to your advantage, because when a person commits, then the person is like already committed to doing something. Or in poker, I don't know, pot committed or whatever, so
Not exactly the same,
fine, but something like that. Okay, so in there, so therefore, as long as you anticipate that, then you can flip the switch and use that to your advantage, right? I mean, because people, if once you're committed, maybe it's like they're shifting the body weight.
Yeah,
they're already there, and so if you could kind of tweak that and balance that or whatever, then boom, you're good. And so, speaking of fights, right? I think, like, in general, it's best to avoid
of course,
gaming fights.
Of course. Because this is not like in a ring where you have a ref, where you're not falling, when you have a mat, right? If you're fighting, like, on the street, the last thing you want to do is tackle someone and try to get them in a chokehold on submit. That's gonna, like, really rip your flesh apart. You know what I mean? Like people think, oh, I'm just gonna, like, ground game this guy, right? I'm just gonna put him in an arm bar, right? It's easier said than done, right? But, like, that's why in street fights, most of the time it is just striking, because, like, if you get into a street fight and then you get into the floor and you're coming on the floor, even if you're on top, you don't know what's going on behind you. This guy that you're trying to, knock out could have friends, and you don't even see them, and there's no way for you to run away. I mean, that's the worst. Even if you know you have advantage on the ground, probably don't want to fight on the ground.
So yeah, no, I hear you. That's why for me, I have a few principles when it comes to, getting into a fight.
Yeah.
So the first rule, there's not Fight Club, right? The first rule is
I don't even know what's Fight Club. I forgot the Fight Club.
Fight Club. I think the first rule is that there is no Fight Club.
There's no Fight Club.
Okay. But I think for me, the first rule of fighting is that don't get into a fight.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's if it's absolutely the last resort. Right. Let's say that you're backed in the corner, or it involves, like, a loved one, like a family member,
where to protect,
where there's no other way. But to fight. Then I say that there's some principles that we should apply.
Oh yeah.
And the principles that I apply, or that I would apply in situations that, okay, so if it involves truly getting into a fight. First rule of thumb is that there is no fair fight.
No.
You mentioned that, being in a ring where there's, like, a ref and all that. No.
Right.
In a street fight, there's no fair fight.
Yeah, there's no such thing as being fair.
No such thing as being fair.
Right.
The second thing is that you never underestimate your opponent.
No, Bruce Lee said something like that.
Right? Because, like what you said, who knows? You don't know about that person's own background, training. You also don't know about, like we mentioned, maybe has friends in the back.
Right.
Maybe has weapons. Who knows, right? So therefore, you have to understand that. Do not underestimate based on a person's physical appearance. Let's just put it that way.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so, being that there's no such thing as a fair fight, another principle is that you have to strike first.
Sure.
Okay. But when you strike,
if you strike first, though, the law is against you, right?
No. But when you strike first, you have to make sure that you're within striking distance. Right. Obviously, like, if you're, like, 10 feet away from the person, if you try to strike first, that person can kind of know that you're coming to kind of initiate, right? So if we're talking about, like, really having to get into a fight, again, it's not fair, right? So what it means is that you may have to close in on the person, appear like, hey, I'm good, but then you just go for it. When you go for it, you have to go for what are the moves that will
vital areas,
quickly neutralize your opponent, right?
Yeah.
Vital areas. Okay.
I think
right. The eyes, the throat, the crotch, all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Done.
The point
it's
is
over.
Either you don't fight or you commit to
But if
fighting
you
and
commit,
knocking the guy out, right?
if you commit, you gotta
Yeah,
make sure that you go all out.
all out,
That's why
right?
this goes back to the one kick 10,000 times.
Yeah,
All you need is that one good kick, the one good punch, and you're done. So Jeet Kune Do for different boxing. Boxing, when you punch straight,
yep.
right? Jeet Kune Do, you go like that, so you can
And
kind of
your
torque your body.
power is in your back.
Yeah, yeah. So it goes like that, right?
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, like, whatever discipline,
Mm-hmm.
you have to know what it is to kind of quickly neutralize the opponent and get out of there, because
Yeah.
it's not worth it to stay.
Yeah, it's not worth it to
It's
stay.
it's meant to be quick
Quick.
and deadly,
Yeah.
and that's it.
And that's it.
No messing
Yeah.
around.
Yeah. But back to, I was just saying, like, the law though sees it differently though, right? If you're the first one that makes a move, right, then you're basically the perpetrator. Is that what they use?
Well, I think when it comes to the law,
Right.
the circumstances are at play and needs
Yep.
to be considered. Was it a situation where who was one that initiated?
Yeah.
Was it based on self-defense? Was it based on other reasonable measures that one had to take in order to protect the loved one, protect
Okay.
him or herself, things of that nature?
Okay, well, so let me ask you this. So what if, like, I'm at a bar
Right.
or whatever? That sounds like the fights always start in a bar, right? I don't know why. But let's pretend we're in a bar,
Bar fight,
and this
bar fight,
bar
okay.
fight. This
Okay.
guy just taunts me like hell, right? Just disrespects me, talks hella crap, gets up into my face, never throws a punch at me though, right? But just talks about, anything you can think of that's very disrespectful to you, okay? And getting really up close to you, right? Like almost just waiting for you to hit him.
Okay.
So, like, what do you do there, right? Like, are you supposed to make the first move, right? I think if I'm cornered by three guys or something, yeah, I'm gonna make the first move. I'm not gonna, wait and see what happens,
Mhm,
right?
mhm.
But what do you do there, right? What do you do there?
Okay, so at a bar, I assume that there are other people around. Are you like, I mean, it depends. Are you by yourself? Do you have other people there? I
Yeah.
mean, if I'm there, we'd probably, do something about it together, right? But
Right.
but I'm saying, like, if you're there by yourself, and if you have to, I mean, what's reasonable, right? Is that based on self-defense? Now you're outnumbered.
Right. That's that. I see a case for that, right? Then you can legitimately protect yourself. You just don't know what's going to happen, so you need to make the first move, right? But if it's one-on-one, I don't know.
A lot of
It
this,
depends on the situation.
it really depends on the situation, right? But
Right.
but I would say that it's best to not be involved in the fight,
Yeah.
because things will get really messy really quick.
Yeah.
And having the legal ramifications of that
Right.
makes me not want to get in the fight.
See, that's
why for
thing.
me it's more like self-defense.
That's why
You know
it's
what I'm saying?
so like tricky, right? So like part of my brain is like, okay, I gotta fight,
Yeah.
right? I'm not gonna get disrespected, right?
Yeah.
I mean, fuck that, right? We're gonna censor that anyway.
Okay.
But,
Freak
and then
that.
the other part is like, if I fight, I'm gonna get in trouble, right? I might get sued. If I hurt this guy, right, I might end up in court. I might lose everything I have. I mean, if it can get that far, right? Maybe it won't, but
Maybe it won't. Mm-hmm.
but there's a chance. Certainly, there's a possibility, right? So at that time, that split second, you don't have a lot of time to think.
Right.
Do you flee or you fight, right? So the saying goes, right?
Flight
so,
or
flight
flight.
or flight, right? Fight or flight. So that sometimes is like, what do you do there, right? For me, I've gone into sticky situations where I decide to fight, right?
Mhm.
In the past,
Mhm.
like just younger,
Mhm.
luckily nothing, I was not sued or, nothing bad really happened to me. But, at the time I chose that was the way to handle it. But as I got older, now that I'm thinking about it, maybe it could have been avoided, but I would look really like kind of like just not like a man if I were to avoid that specific situation. So that's where it becomes tricky. You know what I mean?
But should you be concerned about whether you look like a man or not? I mean,
Mhm.
you know who you are and how you are,
Sure.
right? And so I think we should not really be as concerned about what people think about us. I mean, if we know,
Mhm.
then we know. We don't need people to tell us that we're this or like that.
Mhm.
But maybe at that time, yeah, maybe you're younger, maybe it involved, some of this or whatever, and so therefore, you just went with it.
Yeah, and I find myself like when I'm with someone, I'm more protective. Like I get a little bit more. What's the word? My tolerance to that type of stuff is less. Maybe because I maybe want to protect somebody, or I'm with a girl I'm dating, whatever. Then I get agitated a little bit more. I think most males are like that because of the testosterone, just the nature of how we are. Um, yeah, but I guess if I'm by myself, maybe a bit different. I don't know. I don't know. It's just there's no clean right answer.
So
One
I think
size fits all type of thing. I don't
yeah,
know.
yeah. No, I think
Yeah.
for me and my nature, I like to protect as well,
Right.
right? And I think that that applies to me professionally and personally.
Yep.
So I like to protect, let's say, my clients
Yep.
from being bullied or taken advantage of, whatever. I also like to protect someone that I am, let's say, out with,
Right.
male, female, whatever. What I'm
Right.
saying, friends, family, whatever.
Right.
And so, but I think part of it is that you start by trying to deflect, trying to neutralize, the situation in a peaceful way. Hey, just try not have it escalate, right?
Right.
But there have been instances where, I would say, don't mistake my kindness for weakness,
Yeah.
right? Or like, if it comes to a point where it's a little too much, I would say, it's kind of loud in here. Do you want to talk about outside?
Right.
You know,
Right.
and then that person usually knows what that means, and it's like, okay,
Hmm.
cool, because I'm a nice person,
Hmm.
but I also don't mess around when it comes to stuff like that. I
So
mean,
there's like a
you
threshold
can
that it
kind of
can
move on to
cross.
someone else, but
Yeah.
if you get a look after a while, it's like, okay, I'm not weak sauce, so
Right.
let's be clear.
Right.
So I think like guys also sense that.
Hmm.
Guys, I think, also sense which guys they can kind of pick on,
Right.
which guys they cannot.
Right.
I mean, I have two sons, right? And because I grew up without a father figure,
Hmm.
I learned to become a man on my own. And I learned what it means to kind of naturally, organically get respect from other people. You give respect as well, right? It's not about like feeling that a sense of like entitlement or that you're better than other people, because we're not. I mean,
Hmm.
it's about sometimes being fortunate to be in certain situations. I tell my kids, for example, hey, on a weekend, if we go out, grab lunch,
Hmm.
right? That server may be someone's parent,
Hmm.
and the kids of this server may be at home or someone else. Don't you think that server would perhaps rather spend time with the kids than being here
Of
working?
course.
But and it's circumstances,
Right.
right? And so therefore, treat everyone with respect, because maybe that server is having a bad day, right? But just because that person serving you is, doesn't make the patron better than the server, right? I think mutual respect goes a long way. I think
Hmm.
paying it forward goes a long way.
Hmm.
I think just being nice goes a long way.
Right.
You know, things we talk about that are priceless. Making someone smile,
Yep.
laugh.
That's big.
Laughter is like what the best medicine on that,
Yeah.
right? Just kind of being real. I think people can kind of sense that. So I tell my kids all the time. I go, hey, like when we go out, because born and raised in SF, in Bay Area, we run into people often. And I think I'm proud to say that I think I'm in good terms with people in general. And so we bump into people, hey, hi, this and that. We greet each other, and I tell all my kids. I also have a daughter. I tell them that, hey, you know, um, these people that I run into, that you see, these are people that I grew up with, and they, when we were younger, even younger than you, we've known each other since then. So your age now, most likely you'll run into people that you're growing up with now. So treat people with kindness and with respect and all that, and
But you never know.
you
These
just
people
never,
might grow up and you might become, acquaintances
sure,
or business partners, or who knows what's gonna
exactly,
happen,
right.
right?
So
Yeah.
I tell all my kids that, but I tell my boys, right, that there's a lot that comes with because I think of it this way: someday, perhaps, okay, they will be someone's spouse, they will be someone's father,
Mm-hmm.
right? So how do I want them to kind of be when they are of that age in life, that stage in life, right?
Okay.
And so therefore that involves being a certain way in the way that you carry yourself, right? You kind of follow through, you kind of reliable, and that applies to my daughter as well. But so I think like for all, it's about what we've learned ourselves and what we want to um, share with those that we care about, right? We talk about life experience.
Mm-hmm.
At first, I talked about like talking to those that are older and about that. I mean, there's something else that I also want to add as well. Going back to the trying things 3 times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what it means is that for us to step out of our comfort level, stepping out of our script and doing things that we normally would not do,
Mm-hmm.
right? And also being consistent in how we carry ourselves, right? So I think there are maybe 3 or 4 C's if you think about it. One is being consistent. Another is being capable. By capable, this is something that Bruce Lee once said, by the way, going back to Bruce Lee.
Mm-hmm.
He said that, I accepted my limitations for what they were and capitalized on them. And so you say you're unable to kick over your head without a long warm up. But the real question is it really necessary to kick that high?
Mm-hmm.
Most kicks are like much lower than that. We're talking about like um, martial artists rarely kick above the knee height.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever your limit, whatever you're capable of doing, whatever your skill set is, you try to maximize that. And the last thing, besides being consistent,
Is that before all the MMA stuff though? Because like right
yeah.
now MMA is like they kick the people in the head. That's the way to knock them out quick.
Well,
Right.
okay, so this
Right.
is what Bruce Lee said
So this is
back in the
before
day.
before
Yeah,
people
yeah,
start getting head kicked.
yeah. Because he said that
Yeah.
that high these kicks above the waist level are not really something that's practical. But again, that was back then. It's obviously evolved a lot since then,
Big time. Yeah.
right? Big time. But here's the thing. So that's being capable in your skill set. The last thing is to challenge yourself. When you challenge yourself, we're talking about like it's only through difficulty that you kind of learn and grow, right? And to not give up. So now I'm gonna talk about what happened here. So this is 9 inches, right? This 9 inches, and this happened.
Massive, man.
This
It's a massive
yeah,
scar,
you guys
dude.
see that? You guys see that?
Yeah.
This happened due to while I was studying in Japan.
I never
And
heard the full story. I think you were hesitant to tell me the full story.
so
So hopefully you'll tell me the full story this time.
so it involved 1 on 3.
1-on-3.
Yeah,
Okay.
at a bar.
At a bar.
Yeah,
Did you know they had 3, or you didn't know?
I did, but I thought that
You were able to take them?
yeah, I was able to take them.
Yes.
But what happened was that one of them had a weapon that I didn't know.
What weapon? What kind of weapon? Talking
It was,
about
it was like a pipe.
a pipe.
Yeah, I was like, it's,
A pipe.
I don't know where he got it from. I think he
This
maybe
was
got it
inside
from
the bar.
I don't
What
know
was
where I don't know where he pulled it from. Okay, but
Okay.
this was in the middle of us kind of
You guys
a
were
scuffle and all.
were
Yeah.
scuffle. Was this like verbal stuff going on first, or what was it? Because
So it was initially.
give me the full story, man.
Hold
Give me the full story, man. Give me at least the stuff I want to hear. Yeah, have a drink. It's Saturday, man. Come on now.
So no, it was me against one, but he had 2 friends there.
Okay.
And then when things were going my way, I think like the 2 kind of came in.
Okay. I see. I see. So you were on top.
I was focused on just the one.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So that's what led to kind of bad things. Okay.
Mhm.
So once again, you can never underestimate your opponent.
Of course, you don't know what they have, and you
Right.
know.
But here's
What's around them.
the thing though. Here's what I've learned from it.
Mm.
So when that happened, I broke my humerus here
Okay.
in 2 places. So it went from being one bone to 3 separate bones. right?
So it broke in
Two places.
two
Yeah,
places.
yeah,
Was it the hack
yeah, yeah,
of the pipe?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
How big was it? Do you remember?
I don't know.
Like,
I was out after that, right? And
oh,
so
were you unconscious? Were you?
somewhat after that, yeah, it was.
It just came out of
It just
nowhere.
cracked and like out of nowhere.
It's just
Because like I was like that, and then
bam,
yeah,
someone whacked it
yeah,
right there.
yeah. So
Huh.
so here's the thing. I can't believe I'm sharing this, by the way. But anyways,
No one's gonna judge this when you're younger,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's self defense. I think if anything, this might sound like saying this to get you to provoke you to talk some more, but you are protecting yourself, right? I think for most people, I think that's people can actually relate to that you want to protect yourself or protect someone. You know what I mean? I think you know.
You know what? You kind of live and learn, right?
Yeah.
And so, and because of that, um, what happened was I was taken to the hospital, and I thought that in Japan the medical technology is pretty advanced.
It is, isn't it?
I thought it was, but actually, at least in my experience,
Mm-hmm.
it was not. Because what happened was that
Were you in Tokyo?
I was in Tokyo.
It's got to be advanced.
Yeah. So I thought so too. So then what happened was that the physician at the time saw me and admitted me and all that. And so what they ended up doing to me
Mm-hmm.
is that they ended up placing a pin in me through
Okay.
here. So that's why the scar here.
Oh,
Right.
there's a second scar.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so when that pin was placed in me, uh, it had like it was an impinging upon my ulnar nerve. So these two.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember the doctor said to me clearly, said that, oh, it's a successful surgery. However, you're probably going to lose like most of your range of motion from your left, right? And so um, I thought to myself, I said, hey, maybe that's like maybe that's how my life, the rest of my life, is meant to be, somewhat handicapped. Right. And so you said you had a cast on your leg. I had a cast on my arm here for many months. And so what happened was this though. I had a cast, then I had to remove the cast because this is what happened. So be, I had the pin, the ulnar nerve impingement like that. And so after that semester, because it was towards the end of my semester in Japan when I was studying abroad, I flew back, and my older brother, who is a physician here,
Mm-hmm.
fortunately, he was able to bring it to the orthopedic surgeon in that medical group, who had a roundtable meeting with other orthopedic surgeons. So he brought them that X-ray
Mm-hmm.
that was taken and explained what happened over there. And those people said, because you gotta be kidding me, this is crazy. So what happened was that
What's crazy? Got to be kidding.
what's crazy is that all that was done was place a pin in me.
Oh, so there should have been more.
Yeah. So what happened instead was that the orthopedic surgeons contacted his buddy, if you will, who's also another orthopedic surgeon,
Mm-hmm.
who's very experienced, and basically said, hey, can you help out a colleague's brother? So basically, I had a second surgery where the pin was removed,
Okay.
where they had to re-break my arm, or because it was it was forming again, right? So they re-break it,
Mm.
and then had to do this huge incision and put plates in me, right? And when they put plates in me,
Wow.
that's when my normal ulnar nerve impingement, and I had to have like a second cast put on. And the second cast put on was also for a very long time. And I remember that after the cast was removed, I was informed, okay, you need to go through like occupational therapy, right, to really work on your range of motion. Because before, remember, I told you how the Japanese doctor said, hey, you know what, you'll lose half of it,
Mm-hmm.
and I had to accept that, right?
Right.
But the second time around, I went through occupational therapy, and I tried to do everything that the therapist told me I need to do, and then some, because I told myself, and this is correlates to what you said at the very beginning of this episode, which is that health is number one. I told myself that if I lose my range of motion, or that I am otherwise not how I was before, to the best I can, I'll try to be the best that I can and do the best that I can. And so, range of motion is huge, right? We talk about the ability to have these ADLs, activities of daily living, right?
Mm.
So, for example, one big test is whether or not you do this.
Okay.
Right? You see my arms?
Yeah.
You see that? It's straight.
Right.
A lot of people might be like just like that, or whatever, or like have twisted, but I'm able to go straight.
So you have full range of motion.
I have full range of motion.
You got it back.
And so I feel like, it's kind of like my second chance at life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why ever since then, it's about being grateful, and it's about challenges and how you respond to challenges. I responded to my challenge by saying, "Hey, I want my left arm back." Right. And so because of that, now I enjoy doing things that I uh, I enjoy being physically active. Right. I recently finished a full marathon. I'm not a runner, right? But I told myself that, hey, that's something that I'm doing for myself. I mean, that's 26.2 miles, right? And I remember people told me that you're going to hit a wall. Yeah, so that's why I feel like it's doing marathons is good. It's a challenge. I did hit a wall many times actually, and I was thinking, oh, I should quit. But I told myself that, you know what, you made a commitment to do it. Don't quit. And I'm glad I didn't. But it was really tough. Afterwards, I was like sore. I was cramping, all that for like many days.
I bet.
But I did it.
It's all worth it though.
I'm not too sure if I'll do it again though, actually.
Right. Because think about it, if midway you decide to quit, right? That's going to be like subconsciously embedded in your head somewhere, right? So next time when you go up against an obstacle, your brain will automatically refer back to that time when you quit. So then you're not going to push yourself. The more goals that you're able to reach, then the next thing that comes along, you're not as likely to give up at the very minimum, right? But more than likely, you're going to push through and make things happen and fulfill what you want to fulfill.
So,
all right. So that's all the time we have for today, right? So thank you guys for listening. It's great to have you guys. We really appreciate you guys listening to us, dropping us a like on YouTube and following us on Spotify and, all the other stuff.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I mean,
it means a lot.
Really, it does.
The more we hear back from you guys, the more we want to record. And, if you guys like this, any comments that you may have, please let us know. We want to continue doing this, and we want to make our listeners like what they listen to. So
we're going to keep on at it for sure. Thank you.
All right. See you guys next time.
All right.
Okay. Bye. All right, thanks for listening. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and drop us a like if you're on YouTube or iTunes, and follow us if you're on Spotify.
If you want to listen to our past episodes, find us on our YouTube channel at Better Be Different. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other.